Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Deputy Chief Editor of Bulletin of Chinese Academy of Sciences, Yang Liuchun. It's the fourth lecture on theory and methodology of think tank. Our speaker today is Professor Yang Guoliang from the Institute of Science and Development, Chinese Academy of Sciences. He has conducted long-term research on science and technology planning and management, as well as theory and methodology of think tanks and decision-making. He has undertaken many applied research projects related to S&T planning and management, commissioned by Development Planning Bureau (CAS), and led over 30 projects from Royal Academy of Engineering (DAAD), Ministry of Education, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, National Natural Science Foundation of China, and state grade, with a batch of influential consultation results for decision-making and theoretical methods, as well as over 120 academic papers and 2 monographs. During the modernization of national governance system and capacity, think tanks play an increasingly prominent role. Due to the crossover of disciplines or fields, their research problems are presented in different scales. The research process follows the general methodology of think tank D's theory, but it has different key elements and links, which can support to form different scales of these methods, and thus provide effective methods and tools for individuals and research groups to perform think tank research. Then the lecture regarding the degree of crossover of disciplines or fields, the degree of interrelationship, and the composition of researchers deeply analyzes large, medium, and small-scale think tank problems to form the division process of scales. Then, based on this theory, for large, medium, and small-scale problems, think tank D's methods are proposed, and the relations among the three are analyzed. Finally, for different scales of problems, we give the corresponding D's writing specifications of think tank reports to ensure the standardization, high quality, and a better role of think tanks. Professor Yang Guoliang's lecture is entitled by This Theory and Methodology for Multi-Scale Think Tank Issues. Please welcome.
Think tank research is highly complex, systematic, and integrated, involving many subjects. The research results often greatly impact national major science and technology decisions. In that case, how to ensure a rigorous research process and high-quality results should be considered for think tank research. Pan Jiaofeng, president of CAS-ISD, began to develop and propose DIIS theory and methodology in 2008, who has done pioneering work in the related field. Then, since CAS-ISD was built in 2016, President Pan Jiaofeng has deployed a related study and organized research teams on the key research directions of our institute, including dozens of researchers in different departments of our institute. We have been working together since early 2017 for nearly 4 years. We produced a series of monographs and papers, which, for decision-making consultation, National Science and Technology Management Department, and academic circles, have exerted an important influence. Next, I will report on DIIS theory and methodology for multi-scale think tank issues. China greatly values the construction of think tanks, which have become an important support for the modernization of the national governance system and capacity. In January 2015, General Office of the CPC Central Committee and General Office of the State Council issued the opinions on strengthening the construction of new types of think tanks with Chinese characteristics, and clarified the thoughts, principles, and target tasks, which promotes think tank construction into a new stage of institutionalization. In February 2017, the Central Leading Group on Comprehensive Reform approved the construction plan of National Science and Technology Decision-Making Consultation System, which clearly stated that China should build top think tanks for science and technology decision-making. In October of the same year, General Secretary Xi Jinping delivered the report to the 19th CPC National Congress, involving the strengthening of new think tanks with Chinese characteristics, which also points out the future direction for think tank construction in the new era. Let's look at the basic situation of international think tanks. By 2019, there had been 8,248 think tanks worldwide. Europe had the most, followed by North America and then Asia. In 2019, according to the number of think tanks, the US ranked first with 1,871, India second, and China third with 507. The data is from the 2019 Global Go-To Think Tank Index report of the University of Pennsylvania, which has been released in 2020. According to the report, China's number of think tanks has risen greatly in recent years, from 425 in 2010 to 435 in 2015. And by 2019, it had gone up quickly to 507. From the status of overseas think tanks, the research stresses rigorous scientific activities and credible results, and values rational application and innovation of methods. The research methods of famous overseas think tanks are mainly based on basic statistics, combining quantitative analysis and expert experience, that is, combining quantitative and qualitative analysis. We also analyzed the databases, methods, and tools of famous overseas think tanks and made a simple list. For example, regarding databases, there are OECD database, World Bank Open Database, Rand Statistical Bank, etc. They belong to different think tanks in the US. Regarding data analysis tools, some famous US think tanks have developed powerful analysis tools and method models, such as R programming language and computer-aided interview systems. In terms of methods, there are technology maturity curve, Delphi method, Boston matrix, etc. These methods are widely applied in some internationally renowned think tanks and consulting firms. We believe that overseas think tanks value the innovation of methods, but still lack a system of methodology, which means that there are only point-like innovations in methods and tools without systematic thinking. We have further analyzed the research status of domestic think tanks and found that the relevant research was mainly carried out from four aspects. First, is the research on the role setting of think tanks, mainly studying their connotation and introducing basic situations of famous overseas think tanks. Second, is the research on the modes of think tanks, analyzing those in developed countries and summarizing trends and features of think tanks. Third, is the evaluation of think tanks, ranking those participating in decision-making and evaluating their influence. For example, the Center for Think Tank Studies of Shanghai Academy of Social Sciences ranks China's think tanks every year. Fourth, is the research on the construction of China's think tanks, mainly analyzing the status quo of them and discussing how to build new think tanks with Chinese characteristics. Now, China's think tank research mainly introduces overseas think tanks and discusses domestic think tank construction, lacking deep research on the theory and methodology. The existing research always focuses on local problems without a systematic understanding of the whole process. In practice, we also consider different scales of think tank problems. Some have a very large scale. For example, the Ministry of Science has organized a new round of national medium and long-term planning, involving thousands of academic researchers. This is a kind of large-scale think tank research. There are also some small-scale studies, like consultations. This small-scale research can be handled by individual researchers. Therefore, different scales of problems require different approaches, which leads to the original intention of our work. Aiming at these problems, we systematically consider the key elements of different scales of them, thus proposing the DIIS theory and methodology for multi-scale think tank issues. We need to analyze different scales of problems at the start. During think tank research, Problems are first divided with professional knowledge. The basis of division is mainly from three dimensions: crossover, relevance, and complexity. Large-scale think tank problems involve multiple disciplines and fields, which can derive a series of interrelated and mutually influenced problems, so they should be studied by a team of multiple research groups. Medium-scale problems have the crossover of limited disciplines or fields, which can derive some interrelated problems, so they can be studied by a single team. Small-scale problems always focus on a single discipline or field, with less correlation, which can be studied by individuals. Here is an example of large-scale problems. The Strategic Research, China's Science and Technology Roadmap by CAS, is a typical case of large-scale problems. In 2007, CAS organized the research on energy, ocean, water resources, advanced materials, nanometer, large-scale devices, major advanced interdisciplinary studies, and other important fields. This study proposes some key science and technology problems and leads to China's science and technology roadmaps to 2050, involving 18 important fields. This is a typical large-scale think tank problem. The research process can be seen from horizontal and vertical dimensions. Horizontally, research groups in different fields coordinate or organize their efforts to carry out cross-field and cross-group study. Vertically, each group, based on the specific field, is divided into several subgroups. Through intensive discussion, subgroup study, and comprehensive integration, experts are organized for in-depth research. As for research features, it covers a wide range of subjects such as natural science, technology, and engineering, involving technological innovation, industrial economy, and other fields. Many experts are invited, including hundreds of high-level science and technology, management, and intelligence experts from multiple institutes. And there are over 100 academicians, so it's a typical large-scale think tank research. As for medium-scale think tank problems, U.S. National Research Council, for example, initiates the selection of maritime priority areas. From the personnel structure, they select experts in the related field to form the research council. Experts come from different regions and departments, involving academic and industrial circles, governments, non-profit organizations, etc. The research council, focusing on marine, climate, ecosystem, and undersea earth, conducts interdisciplinary marine science research and selects 8 priority areas of marine science. Also, there is the strategic study of future advanced nuclear fission energy by CES-ISD. This is the medium-scale think tank research of our institute. We also established the Strategic Research Group of Future Advanced Nuclear Energy, led by technical and management experts in the field of nuclear energy. Researchers from ISD, Institute of Modern Physics, and Wuhan Library of CES participate in the study. This project also combines with the development goal of future nuclear fission energy, and the priority areas are selected. The above cases belong to crossover research conducted by a research group in limited fields, which can be taken as medium-scale problems. Based on the above cases, we summarize the division of scales of think tank problems. First of all, we should define the problem with the professional concept for scientific expression. Second, we should analyze the boundaries of problems, judge their disciplines and fields, identify whether interrelated and mutually influenced problems are derived from existing problems, and decompose them to form specific problem sets. Third, we should identify researchers as well as their structure and number. For example, how many they are, which fields they come from, and what aspects they specialize in. If the problem is very complex, we can select multiple research groups to form a team. Conversely, if it's not complex, we can choose a single research group or individuals. Fourth, we should determine the problem scale. As mentioned before, it can be divided into 3 categories: large, medium, and small scales. Large-scale think tank problems involve crossover of many disciplines, and a series of interrelated and mutually influenced problems can be further derived. Then multiple research groups are required to work together. It means that a large-scale problem can be decomposed into many subproblems which are interrelated and mutually influenced. Each problem is studied by different groups, and finally, systematic integration is performed. Medium-scale think tank problems often involve limited subjects or fields, and some interrelated problems can be derived, which might not be as many as those from large-scale problems. These problems can be studied by a single research team. Small-scale research problems are limited to a single discipline or field. These small-scale think tank problems are less interdependent and can be addressed by individual researchers. Finally, the problems on different scales can be studied with different methods. Then, let's start with the DIIS theory and methodology of large-scale think tank research. Pan Jiaofeng, president of CASISD, proposed the DIIS theory and methodology that goes through a data collection, information disclosure, comprehensive judgment, and solution formation in think tank research. Correspondingly, DIIS for large-scale think tanks also includes 4 links, corresponding to general DIIS, which are divided into defining, analyzing, synthesizing, and solving problems. In problem refining, we integrate interdisciplinary knowledge and analyze correlation to clarify the problem features. In problem analysis, we collate and analyze data and deeply study the subproblems to find preliminary solutions, which are systematically combined in problem synthesis for comprehensive judgment with experts' opinions. Last, during problem solving, based on judgments, solutions to problems in different scenarios are produced. To address problems in different scenarios, we use varied strategies and solutions. Specifically, let's review the links and steps of DIIS in large-scale think tank research. Problem refining has 4 steps, including defining, decomposing, and checking problems, as well as determining problems and technical routes. In problem defining, we collect relevant data about the problems, conduct interdisciplinary research, make clear the research goals, objects, constraints, and specific needs to define characteristics of problems. In problem decomposition, problems are redecomposed by disciplines into many subproblems. These subproblems are easy for research teams or individuals to explore to further capture the key points. In problem checking, whether the decomposition is comprehensive is checked. If it's comprehensive, it can enter the next process. Otherwise, it needs to be supplemented with data systematically analyzed and redecomposed. When determining problems and technical routes, we determine whether the problems are worthy of research, or the disadvantages of existing research to identify the problems to be further studied, and form technical routes. Problem analysis also includes 4 steps, including data collection, subproblem research, comprehensive judgment, and preliminary solution formation. In data collection, we should gather and collate data about subproblems. Relevant experts are chosen from disciplines of the subproblems. In subproblem research, we collate and analyze relevant data to preliminary form objective cognition. In the comprehensive judgment, methods like game theory are used for stakeholder analysis, and opinions of relevant experts are combined to judge subproblems. In solution formation, preliminary solutions to subproblems are proposed based on judgment. Problem synthesis has 3 steps. The first is problem integration that combines research results of sub-problems to reach solutions. The second is research checking that tests whether problems are thoroughly studied. If so, it can enter the next process. Otherwise, it should be supplemented with data for iteration of the first two steps. The third step is to analyze stakeholders from a systematic and scientific point of view for comprehensive judgment with experts' ideas. At last, the fourth link, that is problem solving, also includes three steps. The first is to find multi-scenario solutions. Based on the judgment of experts, the solution sets under different constraints are given by scenario assumption to give a preliminary report. In report checking, the report is reviewed according to the preset quality standard. If the standard is met, the report will be generated. Otherwise, the above process will be demonstrated circularly. It's the same as the quality inspection in factories such as ISO 9000. In our view, before submission of think tank reports, they should go through quality inspection according to standards. The last step is report generation that gives solutions following the normalized format to produce the final report. We use a figure to show the overall flow of DIIS in large-scale think tank research, which includes refining, analyzing, synthesizing, and solving problems. Each link has different steps, and there are a total of 14 steps. For the research route, we can draw on the flow chart in computer sciences. Then our work can be streamlined as the left figure, which goes through defining, decomposing, and checking problems. If problems are incompletely decomposed, it returns to decomposing. If completely decomposed, it moves on to undergo the 14 steps. Then the report quality can be guaranteed because high-quality development requires high-quality reports of think tank research, which can be then ensured in methods. With DIIS methodology, large-scale think tank research is divided into 4 links, including 14 steps. For example, the Strategic Research China's Science and Technology Roadmap by CAS focuses on the goal that China basically achieves modernization in the mid-21st century. CAS focused on 18 key fields to carry out the strategic research, China's Science and Technology Roadmap to 2050, and produced reports. This was the first set of panoramic research reports in China for predicting the blueprint of science and technology development in 2050, which has been widely accepted by the government and society. President Pan Jiaofeng also led this important job. We rethink the strategic research, China's Science and Technology Roadmap, from the DIIS in large-scale think tank research. It can be found that, first in data collection, we track the research development of the 18 fields, analyze problems from a systematic view, and decompose them into many interrelated sub-problems. Information disclosure reviews relevant laws and relations of science and technology development from historical and future views, and organizes distinguished experts for analysis. We organized hundreds of academicians of CAS and CAE in multiple fields, who for different fields form objective cognition from historical and future views. In the comprehensive judgment, over 300 experts conducted comprehensive judgment and analysis. By combining experts' judgment, the research strives for a consensus to develop new cognition and ideas. Finally, overall ideas and suggestions considering the demand are proposed. It also provides China's academic and science and technology roadmaps to 2050 with overall ideas and suggestions, as well as relevant solutions that meet practical demands. Next, let's move on to the DIIS methodology in medium-scale think tank research. It also has 4 links, but different from the case for large-scale problems. The links are clarifying requirements, analyzing key factors, making iterative demonstration, and drawing conclusions. In the first link, we deeply analyze the features of problems to identify relevant requirements. In the second link, based on the problem information and the appeals of stakeholders, the challenges or obstacles to solving problems are addressed. In the iterative demonstration, experts' opinions are systematically integrated for preliminary solutions through iterative demonstration, which will be continuously improved. In drawing conclusions, the quality of the report from the last link is inspected to reach conclusions. Specifically, clarifying requirements has two steps, less than 4 in the first link for large-scale problems, which are simpler. The first step is problem analysis, where relevant data are gathered to identify the demands of stakeholders like the government and academic circles. Think tank research, especially high-level consultation, involves many stakeholders, such as government as well as the academic and industrial sectors. Since many science and technology decision-making influences downstream industrial chains, there are other interest organizations or groups with different demands. Then a comprehensive and systematic analysis is required. The second step is determining requirements. Based on relevant data, we should identify the objects, goals, resource constraints, and demands for experts, methods, and tools with keynotes determined. Analyzing key factors also has two steps, focusing on the cause and identifying the key. In the first step, we combine relevant information on problems and the appeals of stakeholders, and summarize the laws and features of problems. To find the main cause or breakthrough, what are the key points and nodes? What are the laws and features? They should be explored in this step. In the second step, based on the main causes, we should analyze the status quo and trends of problems, identifying the challenges and obstacles to development. We should find out the determinant factor for overcoming obstacles to form a preliminary solution. Making iterative demonstration also has two steps, soliciting opinions and repeating demonstration. In the first step, according to the results obtained, experts in related fields, science and technology strategy experts, policy-making experts, and personnel from relevant research departments are invited to give specific opinions. In the second step, experts' opinions are adopted to inspect whether problems are comprehensively studied. If so, a report is generated and it enters the next link. Otherwise, we should supplement new information for iterative demonstration. Finally, drawing conclusions also has two steps. The first is quality checking. The reports from the last link are checked according to the quality standard. If they meet the standard, we move on, or else we repeat the demonstration of the above process. In this step, we generate the final report based on the normalized format and reach conclusions, which supports large-scale think tank research. I have mentioned that large-scale think tank problems can be divided into sub-problems, which are on a medium scale or small scale. The results of small and medium-scale think tank research can be systematically integrated to support the large-scale research. Then large, medium, and small-scale problems present correlation and inclusion. Overall, DIIS in medium-scale think tank research has 8 steps in 4 links: analyzing problems, clarifying requirements, focusing on causes, identifying the key, soliciting opinions, repeating demonstration, checking quality, and drawing conclusions. Such a process can provide the medium-scale think tank research with reliable results. It can also effectively support large-scale think tank research. From the research route, I will show how these steps relate to each other, including analyzing problems, clarifying requirements, focusing on causes, identifying the key, soliciting opinions, and repeating demonstration. At the step of demonstration, if the study is found to be incomplete after an expert demonstration, we have to go back to the step of focusing on causes and systematically analyze the problem. After the repeated demonstration, we come to the step of checking report quality. If the quality standard is met, we can submit relevant research conclusions and reports. If not, we have to go back to the previous steps and perform repeated iteration for problem analysis. The DIIS in medium-scale think tank research has 8 steps in total, which is simpler than that in large-scale research. As mentioned before, there are 14 steps for the DIIS in large-scale research and 8 in the medium scale. Finally, let's see the DIIS theory and methodology in small-scale think tank research. It also has 4 links, which is further simplified, because small-scale problems are not as complex as large and medium-scale ones. The research also includes 4 links: investigating the current situation, extracting information, reviewing by experts, and generating arguments. When investigating the current situation, we conduct sufficient survey on research problems all over the world. When extracting information, we should integrate the surveys to analyze the gap and identify the strengths and weaknesses of research objects. When performing reviewing by experts, we should invite relevant experts to review the preliminary research results and draw on the suggestions for improvement. When generating arguments, we should check the quality of the report from the last link, which, whether for the large, medium, or small-scale think tank problems, is very important. Because CASISD is also one of the first 25 top think tank pilots in China, we have very high requirements for quality. Then, whether for the DIIS in large, medium, and small-scale think tank research, before results are finally generated or the research report is submitted, we all have strict quality checking standards. We also investigated the RAND Corporation, which is a famous think tank in the world. There are 10 quality standards before their research reports are submitted. Our quality standards have more key points than theirs, which will be discussed later, and we have very strict requirements for the quality. In view of small-scale research, investigating the current situation requires domestic and overseas surveys. In the domestic survey, we need to deeply investigate the domestic situation on this problem, including existing studies, main achievements, important progress, and government support. In overseas surveys, we should thoroughly study the overseas situation on the problem, including research progress, trend, and each country's support. We can only win by knowing ourselves and others. When extracting information, we mainly analyze the current situation and refine results. At the step of analyzing the current situation, based on domestic surveys, we mainly assess states of objects and combine the overseas research status from comparative analysis, identifying the gaps. At the step of refining results, we should identify deficiencies according to the research goal, summarize the advantages and disadvantages for research objects to develop, put forward the main aspects to be improved, and generate preliminary research results. Reviewing by experts also has 2 steps: review analysis and deepening and improvement. At the step of review analysis, we invite experts in the relevant fields to review the preliminary results and get suggestions. At the step of deepening and improvement, we should combine those suggestions to test the results. If the research is comprehensive, we can produce the relevant report and move on to the next link. If the problem is not completely solved, additional information is required, and we should perform further iteration and improvement on the results. At last, generating arguments also requires 2 steps. quality checking, and argument generation. At the step of quality checking, we should check the report from the last link according to the quality standard. If the standard is met, we can move to the next step. If not, we should perform a circular demonstration and go back to the above research process. At the step of argument generation, we should generate the final report after checking with the normalized format and provide a supporting argument for problem solving. The argument also supports the research on medium or large-scale problems. Then I will give a chart of the overall research process of the DIIS in small-scale think tank research, including steps as domestic surveys, overseas surveys, analysis of the current situation, result refining, review analysis, deepening and improvement, quality checking, and argument generation. In the research route of small-scale problems, I also use a flowchart, including domestic and overseas surveys, analysis of the current situation, result refining, review analysis, deepening and improvement, quality checking, and argument generation. It has 7 steps. As mentioned before, the DIIS in large, medium, and small-scale think tank research has 14, 8, and 7 steps, respectively. According to the complexity of problems, from methods for matching the research problems, we have simplified them accordingly, because the complexity decreases from large to small-scale problems, but our quality requirements for the results aren't reduced. Although the steps are gradually decreasing, our quality requirement is as high as ever. We can also study the relationship among the DIIS methods for different scales of problems. First of all, from research results, the results of the DIIS in small-scale research can support the relevant study on that in the medium and large-scale research. As mentioned earlier, a large or medium-scale think tank problem should be decomposed into sub-problems. For example, a large-scale problem can be decomposed into a series of medium and small-scale problems. A medium-scale problem can be further decomposed into small-scale problems, so it's iterative layer by layer. The research results of small-scale problems can then support relevant research on medium or large-scale problems, and those of medium-scale problems can support those of large-scale problems. As mentioned before, the theories of decomposition and reductionism unwrap a complex large-scale problem and decompose it into a series of medium or small problems. After thorough research on them, the conclusions are integrated based on the theory of reductionism, providing effective support for studying complex large-scale problems. Regarding the research process, we studied the relationship between the DIIS methods in different scales of think tank research. The DIIS in large-scale research can decompose the problem into irrelated medium-scale problems. The problem analysis in the DIIS in large-scale research is to decompose a problem into multiple sub-problems, which can also be regarded as medium-scale problems, thus achieving simplification and making the large-scale research concrete, which embodies the theory of decomposition. The DIIS in medium-scale research can decompose the problem into interrelated small-scale problems. Analysis of key factors in the DIIS in medium-scale research is mainly to find the main cause or breakthrough. A problem can be decomposed into multiple small-scale problems that can be easily handled by research individuals. They analyze the gap through surveys to find the cause of the problem. At last, I will talk about some DIIS writing specifications for multi-scale think tank problems. As mentioned just now, we focus on quality. Since a research report is a major manifestation of think tank results, it should follow writing specifications and quality standards. One of the most important points of quality standards is that writing has to conform to specifications. A think tank report should comply following writing specifications, generally including the cover, research profiles, instructions, the main body, and other components. The main body of a report is based on the problem scale and follows different writing specifications. According to the type, we make a general division of reports, generally including the following types: surveys, strategic planning, policy recommendations, and information. The features of different reports and their final presentations can be different. Depending on these types of reports, we also identify some elements or key points of the DIIS report for large, medium, and small-scale think tank problems. For example, the rules for writing a DIIS report for large-scale problems include several aspects. It should have a title, a cover, research profiles, and instructions. These are the introductions to the basic situation. From the main body of a report, it involves refining, analyzing, synthesizing, and solving problems. There are also some other elements. The cover should have the research title, topic, name of an agency, time of the report, release range, and the security level. Because some think tanks participate in decision-making consultation at the national level, so many reports have security levels, which should be clearly marked on the cover. In the research profile, there should be research problems, abstracts, and results. That is, an overall display is required in the front. Some instructions are necessary, such as declaration or authorization, content, charts, and symbols. As for the main body, in problem refining, we need to propose problem features, demands, data sources, resource constraints, targets, routes, etc. In problem analysis, we should explain the research content, plans, tools, and methods in detail. In problem synthesis, there should be result synthesis, comprehensive checking, judgment experts, plans, methods, etc. In problem solving, we should perform judgment and prediction on the future development to provide solutions for different situations and check research results. Finally, there are some other points, including conclusions, research recommendations, references, and appendixes. These factors are taken as some key points or elements in the DIIS report for large-scale problems. We also sort the elements in the DIIS method for medium-scale problems, which are relatively simplified than those for large-scale ones, also including the title, cover, research profile, instructions, main body, and other key elements that should be displayed in the report. For the DIIS report for small-scale problems, we also determine some writing elements such as title, cover, research profile, instructions, and main body. That's my whole report. Thank you.
Thanks to Professor Yang Guoliang for his wonderful lecture. The DIS theory and methodology for multi-scale think tank issues are novel, which have deeply studied methods for solving think tank problems, and come from practice. This lecture, starting from the scales of think tank problems, divides the think tank problems into large, medium, and small-scale ones, and thoroughly analyzes the key elements and links of the research on different scales of problems. Besides, based on the DIS theory and methodology in think tanks, this lecture provides the DIS methods for large, medium, and small think tank problems respectively, providing strong support for in-depth think tank research, and further promoting the normalization, standardization, and scientificity of think tank research. It's very important to ensure the quality of research results. Thank you for your attention.